Good morning, my fellow patriots. Today is a day where we hold our heads up high in celebration of the liberties that are fundamental to our society. In a time of unrest, we celebrate the virtue of peace. And in the face of tyranny, we celebrate the virtue of righteous protest. We celebrate Lobby Day because we know that gun rights are civil rights because self-defense is a human right. All citizens have the right to protect themselves, whether or not they are rich politicians that can afford armed guards. The Constitution in the Second Amendment protects the right of the people to keep and bear arms. And we declare that we are the people and not just the elected officials. The Second Amendment does not specify a profession, socioeconomic status, or party affiliation. And we as a nation must put an end to the rules for thee, but not for me policy that a lot of our elected officials have adopted. We are passionate in our cause, not because we are obsessed with pieces of polymer and metal, but because we love and cherish the families and children that those devices were designed to protect. We are not here to beg our government to give us our rights. We are here to remind our government to respect the rights that God Almighty had already given us. Because our rights come from God, they cannot be voted away because they were never voted into existence in the first place. Last time I stood before you, I did not tell you very much about my life story, but I was born and raised in Washington, D.C. I did not grow up around guns, and to this day, I have never so much as owned or even fired a single AR-15. But D.C.'s gun laws were so stringent that pretty much anything other than a sharp stick could get you sent to prison. Those stringent laws did absolutely nothing to make me safer. I still remember nights where I had to duck under my bed because there were gunshots across the street. And this is because violent criminals will always find a way to be armed. And the only ones that are impacted by these laws are the innocent people who actually need a gun to defend themselves from these violent criminals. Innocent people need access to guns to protect themselves, and denying my right to protect myself only makes the criminal stronger. As a native Washingtonian, I can attest that the root of violence in our nation is not access to guns, but inaccess to fathers. According to studies I've read, roughly 85% of violent felons in prison came from a fatherless home. My city was devastated by an epidemic of fatherlessness, and that included my home as well. Fatherlessness is more dangerous than any loaded gun because absent the approval and protection that a father provides, young boys will seek that approval elsewhere, and they just might find it in the pimp down the street or the gang leader. And that is a dangerous situation that we must address if we want to bring healing to our nation. Fatherlessness and spiritual decay are the real dangers, and no government is big enough to fill the dad-sized hole that is in the heart of many of our youth. Public safety starts in the home and in the church, not on the Senate floor or at the police station. And speaking of police, growing up in the inner city, I was taught to distrust and mistrust all law enforcement. But in my times as an adult, I have met some terrific officers, such as Sheriff Scott Jenkins, who spoke before you last year and declared that he would stand up for the rights of the people in his county. I was also impressed last year by the words of one Officer Eric Anderson, who publicly declared that in the face of tyrannical COVID restrictions, he would protect the constitutional rights in his county. His video actually went viral on YouTube, but unfortunately, after the video went viral, he was silenced and put on leave. And unfortunately, many of our officers who come forward to protect the constitutional rights of the innocent are often silenced or even fired. My message is loud and clear to every state level and federal law enforcement agency. If you want people to trust law enforcement, stop firing your good cops. Men like Sheriff Scott Jenkins and Officer Eric Anderson bring great credit to their profession. However, not all cops have their courage. I have spoken with some cops who have told me that they would enforce gun confiscation no matter how unconstitutional it is, as long as they get to keep their jobs and send their kids to college. Let me remind every officer in our country that the Constitution of the United States supersedes any state or federal or order that you receive from your department. And the moment that you give up your right to make moral decisions on the job is the moment you put the fabric of our society in the crossfire. Never sacrifice the long-term future of our nation for short-term gain, because one day you will retire, or you might even change professions, or God forbid, what if you lose your job? You would be then subject to the same laws that you helped enforce. Ask yourself every day, can you live with that, officer? Your politicians who will use you to do their bidding will not have to live with the decisions you will make on the job. They will sleep like a baby at night, making millions of dollars while you are being harassed and denigrated for doing your work. So as an officer, you must never, ever leave your conscience at the doorstep of your precinct. And remember the command of God when he told us to do to others as you would have them do to you. Never forget that although you wear a badge, you are still part of the people, and your rights are our rights. We must all play a role in public safety, whether we are law enforcement, military, or not. Self-defense is not just a right, it is a duty. Psalm 82 verses 3 and 4 say this: defend the poor and fatherless, do justice to the afflicted and needy, deliver the poor and needy, rid them out of the hand of the wicked. This commandment was given to all of us, not just cops, not just the military. And the most effective tool for carrying out this commandment, for protecting the innocent, the afflicted, and the needy in today's world is a firearm. And that is why we stand by our rights, because we refuse to be made second-class citizens. We are Americans, born free to live free. And I will end this with a short poem that I wrote just for this occasion. And bear with me because I am not the world's greatest poet. Here it is. I will not be a victim to be killed, robbed, or beat, not a headline in the news, nor a chalk line on the street. I will protect myself and loved ones every single day. When seconds would count, cops are minutes away. We must stand on the side of liberty as we raise our voice and make safety our right and freedom our choice. Regardless of your race or economic plight, self-defense is a human right. God bless you, and God bless our nation.